NBA All-Star Weekend. It's nice, right? You don't mind that? I like it.
Mind that at all, I must admit.
Yeah.
I don't mind that at all because my hairline looked like it was about 2 feet forward in that
you
photo.
look good.
That worked for me.
I love it.
Well,
that worked for me. That worked for me. It's all right.
I knew you had a big head, but I didn't know it was that big, right?
Oh, okay. Listen, let's talk about the Western Conference, shall we? The first half of the NBA season is over, and in recent history, if they have a 700 win percentage, 9 times out of 10, that team will actually go on to be NBA champions. This year, there are 3 teams that have a 700 win percentage heading into the All-Star break. If you take a look at the standings right now, 2 of the teams are in the West, the Warriors and the Grizzlies. Let's talk about who's coming out of the West, Stephen A. As you say often on this show, the West is deep. Who do you think will win the West?
I need permission from you, Skip Bayless. May I give a few answers?
You can give several, but make it quick.
I don't honestly know. Obviously, the Spurs should be the favorites.
Right.
They're the best team. I don't care what anybody says. They're the reigning defending NBA champions, and they work for the playoffs. They don't care about the regular season. They just want to get to the playoffs. They can go anywhere, beat anybody. That's obvious. I can't roll with the Clippers. Blake Griffin's not healthy. CP3 seems worn down, and far too many guys on that roster seem too comfortable with Southern California. I don't like it.
Even though they were your pick.
That's right. Golden State is who I would love to do it because I'm just a Steph Curry fan and I love the Splash Brothers. But I got to admit, if I had to put my money on somebody other than San Antonio, it would probably be the Memphis Grizzlies.
Really?
It would probably be the Memphis Grizzlies.
Why? What's different from last year?
They are so accustomed to playing together. They're incredibly physical. They defend at every position. They've acquired Jeff Green. And on top of it all, Gasol's playing for a new contract. The incentive is there, and they're blue collar, man. They're from Memphis. They don't have the glitz and glamour, the backdrop of Hollywood.
You're right.
You know, they're not Golden State with the crowd and the three-point, the perimeter play. They are just guys who grab their lunch pails and show up to work and dare you to do something about it. That's who they are. And I think that's the kind of team that could be the biggest threat. The problem for Memphis is the only way they'll get there is if they get to avoid San Antonio.
Really?
Somebody has to knock off San Antonio. I don't believe they would beat San Antonio because I believe Tim Duncan and Thiago's splitter ultimately neutralizes the combination of Gasol and Zach Randolph defensively.
I think you should throw in Aaron Baines.
That's true. Well, Aaron Baines, yeah, he's a big boy. He likes to bang. He likes to bang. But they can neutralize. They can beat Memphis at their own game. But if somebody can knock off San Antonio before Memphis gets to them, Memphis, to me, could be that team that comes out of the West.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's definitive. I admit I don't know yet, but I'm just breaking it down.
I like your answer. And I'm here to tell you that as much over the last 5-6 years we talked about how deep the West is, it has never, ever been as deep as it is right now. I can name all these teams, and if they win the West, it will not shock me one bit. And I'm going to start from the bottom with one team that's not even in the playoffs at this moment. That's the Oklahoma City Thunder. If they win the West, it would not shock me, and I'll go up the ladder. Would it shock me if the Clippers win? A little bit, but not completely. They're starting to turn back the corner here a little bit. Then the Dallas Mavericks, the Houston Rockets, Portland, Memphis, and Golden State. If any of those teams win the West, I will not be shocked. I am sticking with my preseason pick of the San Antonio Spurs, but I'll be open-hearted. I don't have nearly as much confidence in my Spurs as I had on this day last year. You two won't remember this, but we had Skylar Diggins on last year.
Oh, I remember that.
Yes, we remember that.
All right. So we're doing the same thing. Who you got in the West? And she might have been the 4th guest we had that day to say, I love Portland. Everybody they were driving the Portland bandwagon on this day, All-Star Friday, except us. So I listened to Skylar, and I was getting sick and tired of hearing Trailblazers. And I said, that's just wrong.
Right.
I told her, that's just wrong. And so she got mad at me a little, or she got miffed. And she said, okay, who you got? And we had not brought up this team the whole show. 1 year ago today. I said, I got San Antonio. And she said, seriously? I said, seriously. And when those words came out of my mouth, it felt right. I just knew this was going to be San Antonio's year, and it was San Antonio's year. I don't feel that way right now because I have not seen the Spurs play much like the Spurs so far this year. Can you keep it on cruise control? How long? They have lost 8 late, close games. Well, at what point does that become a bad habit? It's starting to bother me a little bit. I told you the other day, it has come to this for me. They blew out Detroit at Detroit without Brandon Jennings in their final game before the break. And I thought, oh, there they are. They're my Spurs.
You
and
said that. They
yeah,
look
but
like
I know, but you can laugh at me and say, it was Detroit without Brandon Jennings.
Yeah.
They had just won at Charlotte the night before, so they were playing back to back at home. But my point is, that was the first time all year where I said, wow, that looked like a strong basketball team where they just took over and blew them out.
Well, a couple of things to point out. Number one, there's a big head that's as big as mine, of yours right there.
I got a big head.
Yeah. So that's
Actually,
number one.
there's 2 big heads.
Number two, I will openly confess to you, I do have a nightmare. It's been a recurring nightmare. It has cost me hours upon hours of sleep per night. I'm incredibly concerned about this. I need help because considering what the New York Knicks have subjected me to this year, it would be an absolute nightmare if the Cleveland Cavaliers were to face the San Antonio Spurs, because that means I'd be in Cleveland in the Riverwalk in June, and I don't deserve that. I don't deserve that. I need something better. So something like that, with that on my mind, I literally salivate at the possibility of Golden State or the Clippers making it to the NBA Finals just because of locale in June. But it's going to have to be a lot that happens. If Golden State is going to make it, Andrew Bogut can't be bogus. He's got to show up.
You are really hard on him.
Well, you know what?
You were hard on him on SportsCenter
listen. I've always been hard because I've always questioned his availability from his days in Milwaukee to where he is now. Now, he's from down under. They call me a wonker, which is a jerk or whatever the case may be. He can do that. I'm looking forward to seeing him, and he can justify why he would say something like that to me considering his resume, which is not that impressive for a 7-footer. But the point is that I know he can play. Yeah. He can play defense. He can rebound. He can block shots, and you need that big body. I didn't call him a scrub. I said his availability is his problem because he isn't available when you need him most. He has to be available, or Golden State doesn't have a chance because you're not going to beat people in the playoffs with just perimeter shooting. It's just that simple. Memphis can beat you the way that they are because the way that they are, they've been that way for ages. Mike Conley defends. And let me throw this at you.
Yeah.
We all know what an assassin Russell Westbrook is. Would you love to see him going up against Tony Allen with Tony Allen having to defend him?
Well, they've had classic
battles. Tony Allen does not back down from anybody.
Yeah.
When you consider what they do defensively as a unit and their familiarity with one another, that's something to take into consideration come playoff time. And that's why I would not sleep on Memphis if I were anybody. Now, I don't want to be in Elvis's part of town come June, but it is what it is. If they're good enough, they deserve it. And I got to give them props for that.
So the reason I'm sticking with the Spurs is if they do meet Golden State or they do meet Memphis, they know how to beat both
They would beat both of them.
And remember, 2 years ago in the conference finals, San Antonio swept Memphis. Now, was that indicative of how good or bad Memphis really is? No. If you can make a case that Jeff Green has made them that much better, God bless. But I'm not sure that's the case. And already this year, San Antonio did have a nice win at Memphis and at Golden State.
So there we go.
I'm going to hang with it.
We're done. They're going to win. Coming out the West.
I'm not so sure, but I'm hanging.
I'm not sold on Spurs back-to-back.
Yeah.
It's not an accident that every year they won a title. It was like and then you never won back-to-back. I'm not sold on that.
As it stands right now, we showed you the standings. Golden State obviously leads the West 4 games ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies. We shall see as we enter the second half of the NBA season. Thank you guys for joining us. Give it up next for Fabulous. He's going to be here.